And without further ado, somebody who I've been waiting to come to this convention, and everyone in this town has been waiting to finally come here, one of the last people in the Star Trek world to make it to Atlanta to DragonCon, Mr. Wil Wheaton. Will informed me that this is his cosplay outfit.
I said to Wesley, where did you put the nanites? And he says, I don't know. And I went with my lovely wife Camille to the holodeck, and she said to me, God, where's the children? I said, I don't know.
This panel has been renamed Wesley Crusher himself.
Because you see, Rudy, when you go into the outer space, the reverse polarity of the navigational deflector must be set before you leave space dock, or you go into the pudding pops.
Bill Cosby, ladies and gentlemen.
Between the sweater and the cigar, that was a $25 joke, so we hope you enjoy it.
If you'd like to offset the costs of that, you can feel free to throw money at us. And by us, I mean that. This microphone is making me feel short. All right. There you go. Just relax and go with it. Good morning, DragonCon. I'm surprised anyone's here at 10 o'clock. Having wandered the bacchanalia of DragonCon. Oh, you're a doll. Thank you very much. Paul and Storm, she just bought the cosplay kit.
We has a subsidy.
Like Garrett said, I decided that rather than sort of talk about Wesley Crusher, I would tell you a story that happened when I was Wesley Crusher. It's a story that I love, and it's a story that I originally published in my book, Dancing Barefoot, and I excerpted it and put it in my book, Just a Geek. And Paul and Storm and I do a show together called Woodstock. Are you familiar with this show? A few of them? Okay, all right, good. If you don't know what Woodstock is, apparently ask the person next to you. We travel around with Woodstock, and when we can't get everybody from Woodstock together, we do a show called Wil Wheaton versus Paul and Storm, and that's when we first did the show that we're going to do for you today. But because this is DragonCon, and because there is such epic cosplay at DragonCon, I felt that it was very important that I sort of put in a little extra effort, really make it worth your while to come out here at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Was it Monday? I'm sorry. It feels like Sunday.
It's second Sunday.
I'm going to perform today for you wearing the Cape of Dicks. Now, Garrett, please bring me my Cape of Dicks. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Paul and Storm with the love song from Cape of Dicks.
Cape of Dicks, Cape of Dicks, Cape of Dicks, Cape of Dicks.
The Cape of Dicks. Much like my beard, I exist merely as a host organism. I'm just going to grab some water, and then we will begin. Grab some water. Grab some water. It is Cape of Before I begin this story, I have to tell you two things. The first thing is that if you find yourselves being offended by the Cape of Dicks, You should leave before I start telling you. If words like tits, winkle, and vibraphone offend you, you should leave before I I also want you to know that this happened a very long time ago. And we're cool now. I cannot stress that point enough. It's okay. We're friends. It's good. It's still a funny story. This is still the way I remember it happening. So I'm going to tell it that way. This story is called William fucking Shatner. I first went, I'm 2 words in.
Nice.
2 words in.
Second Sunday.
You know, the mistake that I made last night was I didn't drink and I went to bed early. I know, it's totally contraindicated by the Dragon Con operating instructions, but I had upgraded to service pack. Oh my God, I'm so tired.
By the way, Will, very briefly before you start, I only now thought of it. Tits, Winkle, and Vibrator is the name of our collective Lady Gaga cover band.
The story's called William fucking Shatner. I first met William Shatner on the set of Star Trek V in 1988. I was 16. I had been working on Next Generation for 2 years at the time. We were enjoying some success with our show, and I was intensely proud of the work I was doing. When I found out that the original series cast would be working next door to us for 2 months, I was beside myself. Roddenberry was still heavily involved with the production of Next Generation back then, and he and I were good friends. When I passed by his door, it was not uncommon for him to throw an executive from Paramount out of his office and ask me in for a visit. He knew that I was a fan of the original series, and he knew that I was more than a little intimidated by these actors. He offered several times to make introductions, but I always declined. If I was going to meet these legends of science fiction, I was going to do it on my own. For weeks, I tried to get up the nerve to introduce myself. When I would walk from the stage to my dressing room or the schoolhouse, which we called Starfleet Academy, I would do it slowly, looking at their stage door wistfully, hoping to catch a glimpse of Mr. Spock or Dr. McCoy, or maybe even the legendary Captain Kirk. The few times they did appear, I never found the courage to approach them. This went on for 6 weeks. Each night I ask the stars above, why must I be a teenager? Word got around our set that I was too chicken to introduce myself to the original series actors. It became something of a joke, and the crew began to give me some good-natured ribbing about my reluctance. Next Generation was immensely popular at the time, and I was still riding high on the success of Stand By Me. They couldn't understand why I was so intimidated by these actors. My face was splashed across the cover of every teen magazine in print. I was a Star Trek nerd, and they were on Star Trek. Do the math. One afternoon, I was sitting outside Stage 9, talking with Mandy, my costumer. They opened the huge stage door across the way. I could see right into the set of Star Trek V. There was a large area like a cargo bay, filled with extras and equipment. It was different from our set, like not nearly as cool. But it was still unmistakably an enterprise. Standing in the middle of it all was William Shatner. He held a script open, sort of like it was a holy text. The way he gestured with his hands, I could tell that he was setting up a shot and discussing with the camera crew. I waited for that familiar rush of nerves, but it didn't come. Seeing him as a director and not as Captain Kirk put me at ease. I knew that this was my moment. I knew that if I didn't walk over and introduce myself right then, I would never do it. I was wearing the gray acting ensign spacesuit, unzipped with the sleeves tied around my waist. I fucking hated that costume. I hated everything about it. It was up my ass whenever it was on. It was hot in the summer and cold in the winter. It was made of wool, so it was extra itchy around my neck, and they made me wear a muscle suit underneath it. Because really, when you're a 14-year-old nerd, you know what you need to be reminded of every time you move? How you don't have any muscles. Sorry, that's not in the text, that's just it. That costume was uncomfortable. So I'd take off the top half whenever I got the chance. Because it was a jumpsuit, I would tie the sleeves around my waist, wear this lightweight 3D, I think I worked on it. Lightweight fleece jacket, zipped up to cover the embarrassing muscle suit the producers had me wear. You may have heard about it. We all wore those muscle suits. All 9 cast members on the call sheet wore muscle suits. Even Michael Dorn. I know, I'm sorry, am I ruining it for you? I think I was the most traumatized by it. I've always been a tiny little nerd without any muscle mass, and having to wear all that thick padding did little to improve my fragile teenage esteem. I turned to Mandy and I took off my fleece. I asked her to zip up my spacesuit and fasten the collar.
Oh, Mandy, you came and zipped up my spacesuit.
If I was going to meet William Shatner, I was going to do it looking as close to Starfleet regulation as possible. You know, like you do. She made sure my costume looked good enough for camera and she wished me good luck. I got a high five from one of the Teamsters as I confidently walked across the street and into the cargo bay of the Enterprise 1701A. It took about 8 steps for my confidence to evaporate. Surrounded by extras in Starfleet dress, standing next to a shuttlecraft, William Shatner, director, was immediately transformed into Captain Kirk, intergalactic legend. I was transformed from Wil Wheaton, fellow actor and mature film industry professional, into Wil Wheaton, the drooling fanboy and Star Trek nerd. I looked around. I guess I blended in well because nobody noticed me. I turned to make my escape and I bumped into a still photographer who had worked on TNG the first season. "Hey, Will, what are you doing here?" he asked. I swallowed and I looked at the stage door. I just came over to look and leave. And listen to this guy who didn't turn his fucking cell phone on. Which is funny because back then cell phones were the size of this mic. Monitor, that's a monitor.